A new shopping complex called District Square was supposed to help revitalize South LA. The area was promised to Target, a Ralph's supermarket, and other businesses. Oh, and hundreds of new jobs. 12 years and millions of dollars later, the site along Crenshaw Boulevard is still a vacant lot, and none of those jobs have materialized. LA Times reporter David Zahniser has been covering the troubled project. David, a lot of people know this site very well because there used to be a Ralph's there. They bulldozed it. Everybody was waiting for some grand new project, to be sort of the new centerpiece of urban renewal in that part of LA 12 years ago. What happened?
Well, so District Square was supposed to be a two-story shopping center, Ralph's on the ground floor, Target up above, and then a series of chain stores and sit-down restaurants. And it was approved about 2010 to great fanfare. It was almost triumphal the way city folks talked about it. They said it was going to be a great catalyst in the center of the city, and that it was going to help revitalize the rest of Crenshaw Boulevard, which is really the heart of Black Los Angeles, and had, seen underinvestment over the past decade. So this was considered a big deal that was going to change the region. And instead it just became this disaster project. So a series of things happened. Ralph's pulled out and the developer had to pay them to leave. Target pulled out. The project fell behind schedule. They missed their construction start date. Then they missed their opening date. And they started falling behind on these city loans that the city had provided in 2010, a very, very sweet package of loans and grants that they could actually pay back using tax revenue from the project. And then sort of like the final sort of scary thing for the project last year was that one of the real estate developers was actually arrested for bribery in an unrelated county leasing case.
Is that Beverly Hills businessman and developer Armand Gabay?
That's the one.
Okay. And what was his motivation in being involved with this project?
Well, I can't say what his motivation was exactly, as he's never done an interview with me. But I mean, I think when they went to the council back in 2010, the representative said it was going to show that you could, build in areas that were disadvantaged and bring these quality stores. They talked about how they had done another project in another part of the country, and that they wanted to do this here on Crenshaw.
And he had a connection with Councilman Herb Wesson, who was a big supporter of this project. And I want to say it was more than just a relationship. He's donated to Herb Wesson's campaigns, right?
Oh, he's donated to a ton of people in the city. From the time that they proposed this project until about last year, the developers and their companies and their relatives contributed about more than $160,000.
So meantime, they're falling behind. They can't get things built. We have Jan Perry sending 7 default notices to the organization saying you have to pay up or close it. She wanted to foreclose on the property, right?
That's what she told us. So just to back up, Jan Perry is a former councilwoman who's also been a political adversary to Herb Wesson, the councilman for this particular neighborhood and this particular site.
They're both running for a supervisor seat,
yes,
by the way.
now they're both running to replace Mark Ridley Thomas, the county supervisor on the County Board of Soups in 2020. So she was running the agency that basically had to administer these federal loans for the project. He represented the district. She's looking to basically make them uphold their end of the deal, which was produce 600 jobs, build a project, open a project. And at the same time, the councilman, Herb Wesson, is trying to salvage it. And he's looking for more and more ways to try and help them. He gets them this short-term 30-month loan to kind of tide them over. But then they don't repay it. So he gets them a second loan and to swap out for the first loan.
David, this is what I don't understand. So they keep asking for more money and more money and more money, yet nothing is going up. I mean, it's not like they've really even cleared the land perfectly. They tore down the Ralph's, but I don't see where that money went. Do you?
Well, what we did was, I basically collected a dozen envelopes of correspondence over this project. And so from just because they didn't talk to me, from the correspondence, the developers were saying, well, you started building this light rail line on Crenshaw, and that's made it very hard for us to lease up. And it's a big problem, right? And they also obviously had lost Target. So then they had to look for a new tenant. They said, well, the construction on Crenshaw made it hard to attract new tenants, right? And they'd say at one point, well, we've actually got another anchor tenant, but then that went away. And then they'd have like renderings showing Lowe's, but that didn't materialize.
So it seems like to me, there's just a lot of people going like, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's not, and I still want to know where it's going next. What has Mayor Garcetti said about it?
So what they've said is, they're still working to salvage the project. They think the thing's gonna turn around and turn around soon. They've been trying to work with the developers to completely reconfigure it. So instead of being a 2-story shopping center, it would be a 7-story, mostly residential building with some stores at the base. So they're saying, Jan Perry again, and she was the department head picked by Garcetti to run that agency, right? She was saying she wanted to foreclose. They weren't living up to their end of the deal. Garcetti's people were saying, no, we can salvage this, and if it went into foreclosure, then it would just make everything take even longer. And so what they're saying is they're going to get some kind of determination later this year, possibly even later this month, though I'm not sure, from the planning department saying that the project's good to go.
I want to know what the community thinks about it. I mean, especially now that we've renamed that part of Rodeo Road. It's the intersection of Crenshaw and Rodeo Road, which is now called Obama Boulevard. So is the community just ready for this to be done?
Well, I have to say, I haven't talked to enough people to feel like I have a full sense of what sort of the community response is, but individual residents in the area have sort of said, well, wait a minute, what we signed on to here was this sort of 2-story retail thing, and suddenly we're gonna have this 7-story residential building. We wanna have more opportunity to weigh in. And they have started making some rumblings about, they should actually, that the city and maybe the developer should come back and talk to them about what they want to do.
And traffic flow, because it's an issue right there. Thank you so much for coming in and explaining it. We'll keep our eye on it.
Well, thank you for having me.